Hey, what up, everyone? Hey, there's been some chatter in the last few days on things that people just, don't feel well about, like their inadequacies and, maybe this a little bit of this imposter syndrome. And that hasn't really come up, but I mean, that's kind of at the heart of what this is. There are times where you have no choice but just to go forward and just do it. And instead of sitting there worrying about what the problem is, instead of worrying about, the skill set and, just everything, just go freaking do it. So I'm out here today in Letts, Iowa. And I know you probably said, where the hell's that? Well, so did I when I got hired to move a house out here. And I came out here, took a look at it, said, yeah, no problem, agreed to the job. And then turned out, I started out on this particular job, and I was stuck in the mud for a day and a half on this particular thing. And part of why I was stuck in the mud was we had to back up to get out of the old spot. We hit a tree stump rather, and that turned around breaking two of the tires we had and bent two of the axles. Tell you what, man, it was bad. It was. So we spent at least a good half a day just jacking and sliding paper or sliding boards under the rear of it, so that way we get the damn thing out of the mud. Then by the time we got there, um, we went ahead and pulled out and started heading up here. So the first day we went probably 15 miles, simply because I had to stop and change two tires, and I lost a tire on average about every 8 miles because the freaking axles were bent, so the tires were rubbing against the frame of the house. So you'd only get about 8 miles before the frame would chew through the tire, and you hear the big old freaking boom. And I'll tell you what, man, when a tire goes, you have that much weight for a house on it. Holy cow, it is loud. So I got up to Ainsworth, Iowa. There's a truck stop there. Pulled in, dropped the trailer. I live not too far from there, so I just went home. I was like, fuck it, I'm done with this thing for the day. That was Monday night. Tuesday, I come out here, hook back up, come out, pick up the trailer, change tires, hook up, and that's when I figure out one of my axles is bent. And then, I didn't have any choice, man. Um, I could either cry, kind of wanted to, um, or I could just send it. Sometimes, man, you go with what you got. And so anyway, house has a total of 4 axles, total of 8 tires, and that means the house weighs somewhere 25 to 28,000 pounds. And so I had two good axles and two bent axles. So I headed out, I adjusted the weight on the hitch, picked it up, put a little bit more weight on the truck, took some off the front axles because those were the ones that were bent. And then from there, I went through and headed down the road. Same thing, man. Got about 10 miles, lost another freaking tire. And at that point, I was on a 2-lane road, no place to pull out to go ahead and change tire because, here in Iowa, we don't believe in shoulders on most roads. And so you just kind of had to gimp on down the road with two tires on one side. Remember, 25,000 pounds, two tires. And, you're 200% of what the engineer designed back at the factory. And so, man, that was exciting. Finally got to a place I was able to change tires. So I was back to 3 tires. Should have had 4. And we kind of kept going along. Let me show you where this thing could have went. I mean, it was already a train wreck, man. Remember, I was already a day and a half into this hillbilly beatdown. And I come up here, and you can see I had to come down this road right here, and then I had to make this corner coming around here. Well, here you go. Here you can see this culvert, this drainage ditch, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, it's a ditch, not a culvert. Drops down about 6 feet. Same thing over here on the other side. Drops down. This one's about 6 feet, and you can see the corner where the house had to come back around. This thing has a really, I mean, that's one hell of a drop. And again, that's about 6 feet down. Same thing over there on the other side. I drove out here just to survey the course ahead of time. I got to tell you, man, it didn't look that bad when I was out here in just the regular old box truck. Tell you what, your perspective changes when you are when you're, well, I was 14. You're 14 wide by 95 feet long. And, you know, you're sitting 11 feet up in the air, you know, behind the wheel of the semi-truck. And tell you what, man, yeah, I pulled up here and I actually parked, hit the brakes and parked right about there. And first thing through my mind was, what the heck am I going to do? Because, you know, I got to get around here. Of course, you know, the day I was out here, there was a car parked right here, the stop sign. This is one of the old-fashioned ones that doesn't drop, you know. Most of the time you go, there's a couple bolts, you pop it up, lay it down, and you can swing right over the top of it. You can't do that with this one. So, started around the corner. You know, when you're pulling oversized on a mobile home, you come up here and then you cut a really sharp corner, and your front tire kind of comes and almost dips down in there. And what you do is, because, you know, the house pivots all the way back here, right? And so you're trying to swing the nose in. Got all the way over here because you can see where my truck was. Remember, my truck's 16,000 pounds. This wasn't too long after a rain, and the soil here in Iowa is soft. I mean, holy cow! If you haven't watched your equipment sink while you're sitting there eating lunch, you have no idea how soft it is. But anyway, so my truck gets pinched in here. And by this point, the ass is just kind of floating out over there. It's just kind of floating out in the air. So I'm like, well, you know, let's back up and try it again, right? And so I kind of nudged in here a little bit, got my nose swung around, tried to back up a little bit. And then here, I'll show you. Well, maybe. You know, the trailer was kind of wedged right about here. And so I backed up just a little bit. And you can see over here on the other side, you can see how little traffic there is here in rural Iowa. So down over here, that's easily good 8-foot drop off. And you can see here, you can see my tire marks here where I was backing up the trailer. And so as I was backing up, something just inside me kept like, you know, I probably ought to stop and look. And so I did, set the brake. And when I got out of the truck and looked, man, I tell you what, the fucking trailer was up in the air like that, and I had 2 axles clear up off the ground. They were just floating. There was nothing but daylight underneath them. I remember I only had one tire on the front axle. I had a total of 3 tires holding up my 25,000 pound trailer. And if I'd have gone back a few more feet, I know I would have dropped off the thing, and from there, I just would have broke the thing in half. I mean, that was it. So anyway, I had no other option. I couldn't do anything. So right over here, I put some plywood down, kind of right over there to give me a little bit of support. And then I did the only thing that I could do, straighten out my tires. And you can see here, I took my truck through the neighbor's yard. And you know, the only option you got when you're stuck like that in soil, in really soft soil, is, man, you just put it in gear, put it in low, lock your differential, and just give it hell. That's really all you can do. And then you can see right up there, kind of right up there on the concrete, you can see where I drug the frame right across the concrete. But you know what? We got around the corner. Now remember, I was almost 2 days into this old hillbilly beatdown. And then right down here, kind of right down there, you can see the garage. Well, the house is in there. It's wedged in there behind a bunch of trees. I only had one option, man. And that was just to keep going. And I could only go forward. So, you know, there are times where the only thing you can do is just go forward. You know what? Are you the best person to do it? Yeah, maybe not. Who knows? But you know what? Just go freaking do it. And that's all you can do. Hey, make it a good one.